Massive Entertainment Star Wars Outlaws is within touching distance now. The long-awaited open-world game recently confirmed an August launch date, and with a new story trailer, developer interviews, and more, several new details have emerged that are painting quite an enticing picture for how this game is going to turn out. In the weeks and months ahead, there will surely be much more to talk about, but there's already plenty of new information out there that we haven't yet covered. So here, we're going to go over a few key new details that have recently come to light about Star Wars Outlaws. Sliro. Some of the most significant details that we've learned about Star Wars Outlaws with its most recent info drop are about its core cast of characters. In that group, it seems the role of the central villain is being played by Sliro, a massive wealthy man who's used his wealth to create an entire criminal syndicate around him. Known as the Zerich Bash, though Sliro's syndicate is a relatively new player in the criminal underworld, it's quickly established itself as a force to be reckoned with. According to creative director Julian Garritti, the syndicate is going to be much more militaristic than the other criminal factions in everything from how it operates to the armor it wears, thanks in large part to the amount of money Sliro throws at his operation. Jaylen. Another character who will have a major role to play in protagonist Kay Vess's story is Jaylen, a fellow but much more experienced outlaw. A career criminal who's described as being down on his luck, Jaylen ends up headhunting Kay when he witnesses her talents, believing that they can be put to good use, and ends up serving as her mentor. Creative director Julian Garritti describes him as follows. Jaylen comes in a bit later on and he sort of headhunts Kay. He sees something in her and he's almost like a mentor. He's trying to give her a context, a framework with which to put her talents to work. And you can see that Jaylen's seen better days. He's a little bit down on his luck, but he sees an opportunity not only to teach, but to profit from his relationship with Kay. Story details. After having revealed some core narrative and premise details when Star Wars Outlaws was unveiled last year, Massive Entertainment have now put a little more meat on those bones. We've known for a while that the central thrust of the story will be Kay's attempt to pull off the biggest heist in the history of the Outer Rim, but how exactly does that come about? Well, it turns out that after a job gone wrong, Kay ends up in Sliro's crosshairs, who puts a massive bounty on her head. Her only way out of this predicament is to rob Sliro himself. To do that, she'll need to infiltrate his heavily guarded and fortified mansion, which is no easy task. And so she sets out to recruit a team of elite rogues and thieves scattered throughout the Outer Rim. Vale. Star Wars Outlaws is being positioned by Massive as the ultimate Star Wars scoundrel fantasy, and of course you can't have one of those without a bounty hunter also thrown into the mix. In Outlaws, that role will be played by Vale, a new bounty hunter who's hired by Sliro to eliminate Kay. And what exactly can we expect from Vale and the role that she'll play in the story? Here's how Garritti describes her. We wanted somebody who of course had ambiguous morals, but was extremely self-sufficient, extremely professional, extremely single-minded in their approach, but had a little bit of a wider view of things too. So there are questions that she's going to ask herself about the situation, of Sliro's motivations, of all those things that really bring the character a dimension that we don't usually see with the sort of normal bounty hunter character trope. Factions. When Star Wars Outlaws was revealed last year, two of the criminal syndicates that were confirmed for the game were the Hutts, including their famous leader Jabba, and the Pikes, both familiar to fans of the IP. Several more have now also been confirmed. Crimson Dawn is another one that will be familiar to the Star Wars faithful, in particular those who watched Solo. Interestingly, it's also been confirmed in a Game Informer preview that Emilia Clarke's Solo character Kira will be featured in the game, though Clarke herself apparently won't be reprising her role. There's also the Ashiga clan, a new criminal syndicate made for the game from scratch, as well as the previously mentioned Zerich Bash, another one of Outlaw's new creations, and of course the Empire. At the peak of its powers during the time the game is set, will also be a threat that Kay will constantly have to contend with. Locations. Billed as a massive open world to discover, Star Wars Outlaws is going to allow players to explore a number of different locations, a number of which have been detailed to varying degrees. One of the first locations we saw as far back as last year was the Moon of Toshara, which is another new introduction. On Toshara, in addition to wide open plains, players will also be able to explore the densely populated capital city of Murugana. Speaking to Game Informer about the city, Geraghty said, "If you open up the map, the location that we built for Murugana is quite compact. What we wanted to do is have something that is very dense in activities rather than super expansive where you get lost and there's not much to do. It's very, very focused on providing a dense, busy city experience." There will, of course, also be plenty of locations that Star Wars fans will recognize, like the remote Akiva, the icy Kijimi, and the sandy Tatooine, because we have to have Tatooine in nearly every Star Wars story, apparently. Reputation System. Star Wars Outlaws' reputation system looked like one of its most intriguing mechanics when the game was unveiled last year, and Game Informer's aforementioned preview has shed a bit more light on how it will work. Apparently, the reputation system will govern what your standing is with each of the game's individual factions, which in turn will impact everything from what items and prices you'll find at their vendors, whether or not you can freely walk around in their bases or control territories, and more. Your actions as Kay in both gameplay and story will determine your reputation with each faction, and if you, say, have a great relationship with one syndicate and a not so great one with another, the former might actually jump in to help you out if you ever find yourself in a sticky situation with the latter. Launch. Star Wars Outlaws is launching sooner than many have thought, previously confirmed to be a 2024 game where many thought it might actually slip out of the year. Massive has now confirmed that the game is launching in a handful of months on August 30th. In addition to a $70 standard edition, it will also have gold and ultimate editions available, both of which are, to say the least, exorbitantly priced at $110 and $130 respectively. Both editions will also allow you to access the game a few days ahead of its global release on August 27th. Season Pass. Star Wars Outlaws will also have a Season Pass. Massive has confirmed, which will be included with its aforementioned Gold and Ultimate editions. It will encompass 2 post-launch expansions, finer details on which are currently scant, though Massive says both of them will add all new stories, quests, and areas to discover. The Season Pass will also include an exclusive bonus mission that will be available at launch, as well as a pack of cosmetics for Kay and her adorable companion Nyx. Physical version installation. A physical version of Star Wars Outlaws will, of course, be available upon the game's release, though as often tends to be the case with physical releases, it'll come with an annoying caveat. Specifically, though it doesn't look like Outlaws will require a persistent internet connection to be played, which it obviously shouldn't as it's a single-player game, its physical version will still require you to connect online in order to install it. That's not exactly uncommon in today's day and age, but it's fair to say that it continues to be an unnecessary annoyance. Hey, did you know that we at GamingBolt upload new videos every day? Stick around, drop a like, subscribe, and hit that bell, and let us know what kind of content you'd like to see in the future with a comment below.